Today in our drive chat, I want us to get a little bit of education. So on Friday, we had a very interesting conversation. One lawyer posted a certain comment online, and I shared it with you. It was quite revealing. Now, he said that throughout my 11 years at the bar, I'm yet to see a wife do a will in the name of the husband and give the property to the husband in the event of her demise. And we had a very interesting conversation about it. Lots of people shared their thoughts about it. In fact, a lot of the women, you guys came out and said, look, you will not put the men as beneficiaries of your will. Because the man will go this, go out. I mean, we had all sorts of comments. One of the things that actually I thought it was necessary that we got a little bit more clarification or education on was the fact that I think one of our friends mentioned that it's quite common to know that the law provides for a man in the case of his demise, but not a woman, and which is quite erroneous. After I'd gotten a little bit of education from one of our very good friends, so I decided to call her up so that we can actually get to know exactly whether there's a gender disparity when it comes to what the law says about property or someone a deceased estates. And she gladly agreed to speak to us. Lawyer Victoria Awuni is on the line now. Hello, my lawyer.
Hello, Lexis.
Hi, how are you? Good evening. And how are you today?
I am fine.
I'm so happy that you made time to talk to us briefly about this conversation. Before we actually get to the crux of it, it all started with a post that we actually shared that one of the lawyers said that in his 11-year practices, he hardly sees women, making their husbands beneficiaries of their will. Have you noticed anything of the sort as well?
Well, I think that generally people are inclined to think that it's only men who do wills and put women as their beneficiaries. But I am not even 10 years at the bar, but I've also seen women who have made wills and the men are the beneficiaries. So if you remember when I was talking to you, I said it's not entirely true.
Yeah.
But he said in his practice, his 11 years of practice. So I guess we'll go by that. We'll just have to know that he hasn't seen it yet. It doesn't mean that it does not exist.
Right,
People have made wills and have put their husbands as beneficiaries. It all goes a very long way, to tell what kind of husband you have. If you trust your husband, you think when in your absence, he will put your property to good use. You will put him as a beneficiary. It's as simple as that.
To even affirm that, when we activated the phone lines, a lot of women came and said, no, they won't put their men or their husbands there. I mean, some even confess that actually they've put their children, their husbands don't have any place in their will. You know what I mean? I don't. Mm-hmm.
It's because they know the kinds of husbands they have. That is all.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes,
now,
I mean, if you know the kind of person you are dealing with, you know what, the kind of responsibility to give them and which ones not to give them. So it's a matter of, knowing your spouse and what you think they can handle.
Okay, that's good. But let's look at the legal, what the law actually provides. I don't know whether the law provides, especially in the interstate succession law, for any gender bias or something of the sort when it comes to beneficiaries of a deceased person's estate. Now, I think one of the callers alluded to the fact that they know that when a man dies, this is how the property will be shared, but they don't know about the woman. So, is there any gender preference in that department? Can you share a bit of that for us?
No. There's no. The law is actually, it makes reference to a spouse. So the law makes reference to the PNDC law 111 makes reference to a spouse.
A spouse.
So throughout the law, you realize it says a spouse, where the person dies and he leaves a spouse. This is what will happen. Where he dies and leaves a spouse and children, this is what will happen. Where he dies and leaves a spouse, children, and a surviving parent, this is how it will, I mean, this is what will happen. There are various ratios of sharing the property. But it doesn't necessarily mean, where a woman dies, it can't apply to the woman's estate.
Okay.
Where a woman dies, it applies, and where a man dies, it applies. I understand when people think that it applies to only men, because in our society, we always have, where you see a lot of disputes. Again, you have people who go to court, men who have seen a few cases, very few, of men who have gone to court to, litigate over a woman's property. It's very few, but I have seen one or two. And you also have situations, but where the woman goes to court to litigate over a man's property is always very, it's common. So people tend to think that PNDC Law 111 applies to only the man's property. No, it applies. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
Yes.
Ah.
It says spouse,
yes.
not a man, a husband. No.
Okay.
So it goes both ways. If you die between a man and a woman in a marriage, if the woman dies, the same law applies to the woman's properties.
Okay.
If a woman dies, a man dies, it applies to the man's properties as well.
So why is that? Why is there that general notion that it's mostly applied to men and not women?
I guess it's because men usually die first. Between the husband and the wife, it's also maybe because the man is, the men are usually older. I mean, in our part of the world, to be honest, that most men are older than their wives. So the men tend to die earlier than the women, So that is where that notion, I think, comes from. Because I was speaking to a colleague lawyer who said, no, I mean, it's because the men will always die and leave the women. So it's presumed that that is the situation. But no, that is not the case.
Do you also find cases where men don't really want to litigate about their woman's property?
Yes, most men will say so long as the wife is deceased and the properties. In any case, if a wife is deceased, leaving a husband and then children, the properties are going to either the husband and the children. So where the man knows that the properties are coming to the children, he's not going to fight it. And most men, African men, are usually very reserved about these things.
Okay.
They won't, so you get a lot of men who find themselves in such situations. If their children are covered under the sharing of the properties, they are okay. They don't go forward to litigate. As against women who, and it's also because maybe usually the man will die, and before you know it, another woman pops up. So there are so many nuances to it, but the case for the woman is usually very different from the man.
Last week somebody actually made that same statement that this whole conversation about the women and what they say they're not going to give it to the men. The bottom line was the fact that they assume that the men are going to die before them.
That's even in law. That's the assumption. Okay, so where you have a man and a woman in an accident, both dying in the accident, both are deceased at the accident, where it is difficult to tell who died first. They look at the age. The law presumes that the elder of them died first.
Okay.
Yes, and usually between a man and a woman in Africa, you always have the man being, well, not always, mostly have the man being the oldest of the two.
Okay.
So it's that presumption is there, and it's very difficult to rebut it. But I mean, that is what the situation is.
No, I'm grateful. I'm glad that you've given some clarity to this and from the legal perspective as well. Thank you so much, lawyer. I'm very grateful. Yeah.
You're welcome.
But
welcome,
before
Lexis.
you actually go though, how important is it, especially for women, to also write wills?
Very important. Very, very important, Lexis. We have the situation where people think that, when you write I've spoken to a few people who have actually told me that, when I write a will, it means I'm going to die very soon and all that. It's just writing a will just gives you the power to decide what happens even when you are not around. You write a will, and you say it says your will is your last will and testament. So you decide what you want to be, to be done to all your properties while you were alive. Just imagine dying, and then the next thing, your husband gets all your properties, or someone else gets all your properties, and they are dissipating it, just chopping it, for lack of a better word, anyhow. If the ghost could see, the ghost would be very disappointed, because in today's Ghana, you suffer a lot before you are able to do anything. Times are hard. So it's good, especially when you have children, that you leave a will that caters for, your children and your dependents. That way you are rest assured that when you are not there, this is what will happen.
Okay.
And when you write a will, the best thing to do is to occasionally, especially when you have acquired other properties, you revise your will and then include them, so that when you die, your properties are all covered under, your will.
Okay. I think Augustine from Kumasi just sent a message to ask how much does it cost to make a will in Ghana?
Oh, it depends.
It depends on who the legal representative is.
It depends on a whole number of things. I mean,
okay,
that can't be discussed here by making a will. It depends on what you have. There are people who do wills for you and charge you 2,000. Some others will do wills for you and charge you, 100,000. It all depends on the properties involved, and then all that. So there are so many aspects to that.
Okay, thank you so much, Lawyer Victoria Awuni. I'm grateful that you made time to speak to us today.
Thank you, Lexis.
All right, there you go. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are today. We tried to get a bit of clarification, on the conversation we had on Friday. You can call me 0302 216 541. Have you had any experiences? I think instructive for me is the fact that you should know that once you're deceased, the law caters for the spouse, whether it's male or female. It applies the same way. So ladies, once you are gone, touch wood, your husband has a share in your property. If you're going to do a will, you not write his name inside. Voila. But it was quite a very good conversation we had on Friday, and we thought that it was necessary that we bring a lawyer in to put shed some light on some of the other issues around it. Let me see who's here. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. My name is Nene from Bansuma.
All right, Nene, talk to me.
Last when we were in this program, and I was listening to the call. The way I felt sad,
You felt sad?
Yes, I felt sad because, listen, we get the impression that when we go into marriage, we go into the marriage with equal trust and equal love, knowing very well that the man in our part of the world suffers a lot for the family, thinking about the wife and the children most of the time. You understand me? And definitely always have them in heart that, tomorrow when I'm not there, I'm doing this for them. And I listened to the women who called in, and about 95%, in fact, almost 100% of those ladies who called in, had this mind that, look, I will not do this in the name of my husband. Doesn't matter whether I love him or not, because when I'm dead and gone, he will go and marry another woman. And it got me thinking that, so why are we getting married then? When I'm dead and gone, I don't know what is behind it. That's why we do the will. So it's also in the marriage, that's a lot of women doing properties without even the husband knowing about it. Look, I can bet you do a research, go to Sleep today, or go to the bank and do a research and see the percentages after when you are filling the funds for sleeping, the percentage that you allocate to each member of your family. I'm begging anybody to go and do research. Look at the percentage the men allocate to their wife, and go and look at the percentage women allocate to their husband. Are you telling me there are no women who are married after their husbands are passed? No, to be very honest, it gives me different ideas as to how to do things going forward. Because it's like the women they are married to, then they're married thinking about themselves and their selfishness. And they don't think about the collective benefit of the marriage that we are in. And sometimes it shows in the way they think, look, I work in the school. And There are women who maybe one or two reasons they are earning more than their husband. When it's time to pay the school fees and maybe the man is not able to pay on time, and you are calling to get them to pay and stuff like that, the woman will make the payment and he will tell you, don't tell my husband I'll pay. When he pays, make sure that the money. I'm like, I did not your children. This at a particular point, the man is not able to pay and you pay. What is a big deal?
Okay.
No. He said, no. When he pays, don't tell me I have paid. No wonder the men are dying at a faster rate in this part of the world. Because in the Western world, you go out with a woman and she will be willing to pay for whatever she took, and you are also willing to pay. You go equally. Nobody is thinking of taking advantage of the other. But our part of the world, our women are too selfish, man. Too selfish.
Nene, thanks for your thoughts. Very interesting thoughts there. 0302216541. You can call me and also share your thoughts on this. So, WhatsApp me 055-111-1997. Hello?
Hello, this is Nanaya.
Nanaya, how are you?
I'm doing well. I agree with the first caller. And then I disagree with the lawyer saying that the women who don't use their husband because they know the kind of husband that they have. Listen, I'm a very good husband. I have a lot of insurance policies. Everything to my wife, right? Work, welfare, provident fund, first year, second year, everything to my wife. My wife just finished schooling and then she just started working. And then she also was doing this flip. To my surprise, she used my daughter's name. I was like, me, all the policies that I have, you are the beneficiary on it. So why? Like I felt so cheated. I felt so bad about it. I was hurt. Honestly, I was hurt. I was like, now all these things, and you are like on top of my list. So I said, oh, it's not like that, she's a kid and I'm not using you because you die and leave the kids and then blah blah blah. So, oh, really? So that thing, the women, honestly, they think about themselves when it comes to these issues. Okay, excuse me, not all women, but most women. It's like we the men, we are just working for them. We think about them more than they think about us. Maybe, probably because of where we come from anyway. Charlie, that is it. So you enjoy the rest of your program, Leslie.
You too, bro. Thank you for calling in, yeah? All right. Hello?
Yeah, hello, Leslie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, so I totally agree with the lawyer. If you know the kind of man you are living with, hallelujah. In the Western world, the man is comparing us to. Polygamy has nothing to do on the women. In this part of our world, a man is right to cheat. A man is right to take a second wife. A man is right to do everything. So we are protecting our own. Let's we are building a house, right? Even floor drain, I buy it in my kid's name. Because if you know the kind of man you are living with, let's say, because who could know that or sorry, uchi, or koha, no baha. Sikano, you bet your school fees, because when you don't have, you turn to your wife, give me money, I'll give you. But when I know you have, Master, I'll collect everything and put it down, hide it and give it to you, the same person that you are spending it on your friends, your girlfriends, renting apartment for your girlfriends. I'll keep the money when we don't have. When you don't have, I'll give it to you. Because that is what marriage is about. If you don't have, I'll help you. But not when you have. We are protected. Maybe floor drain, it's either I buy it in my name or my kid's name. Because I have 4 kids with a man who doesn't stay at one place. Jump from one other woman to the other. Just keep mute. So we are protecting our own. The men shouldn't be worried. We are protecting our kids until they learn how to stay at one place. Don't compare her to the foreign, because the foreign world, the women have upper hand. You can't be cheating on a foreign lady, jumping from one other woman to the other. Is that what they do there? So don't compare us. Yeah, they need be. Into we are protecting what we have for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. 0302-216-541. You can also WhatsApp me on 055 Hello?
Christian here.
Christian.
Yes, can you hear?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Christian.
Yes. There's something sometimes when you look at it, our culture, I think it got a long way to go with it. We go in and we do the marriage. So one, we have taken the woman as part of us and we say bear that responsibility. And then when you look at our culture, especially the accounts, I'm using the accounts in particular, where you have the maternal lineage tradition, plus the current situation we find ourselves, the women are more of confused and greedy. If you look at it now, they expect the man who is the brother to will his properties to their children. Expect their husband who also as the husband to will to their children. And then they will think that if I give my thing to my husband, he's going to use it for another woman. If I give it to my brother, he's going to pass on to their children. So they become more greedy and focus on themselves and their children. So if you look at the culture, the tradition, and the situation we find ourselves, I think it's going to be much difficult for our ladies to reorient. But it's something that we have to look at it for. I will share something so interestingly. As a fellow person said about insurance, I have a lot of policies. And recently, there was a policy that I was actually paying the premium for my wife. And the broker, when he brought the draft, the broker did not even ask. But when he brought it, you know what I saw? Even the distribution, the broker, who is a male, not even a female, took it out and spread among our children. I laugh over it. I said, look at that. Even the broker unconsciously believes that in our settings or our part of the world, everything goes to the children if it belongs to the woman. But if it belongs to the man, then it goes to the woman first and then the children second. That is the situation we find ourselves in our culture and our tradition. So, in as much as we disagree and we feel hurt, hey man, you have to accept it. This is the current situation. It will take time for the ladies to be reoriented and for our confused culture to come aligned, either globally or go back to the olden way where we accept whatever we accept. If you are patrilineal, you stick to your patrilineal. If you are matrilineal, you stick to your matrilineal. But until that confusion that we find ourselves and our current lifestyle and the current situation we find ourselves, hey, my man, the ladies are going to will everything to their children.
Okay.
So better don't be concerned or be bothered about it. It is how it is.
It is what it is. Thank you so much. Anthony says, Lexis, oftentimes the problem is the man's family. They assume everything is a man's, and so they must take it from the woman. At the marriage school, when the topic on property was raised, it is sad that love and trust have no value when money and property are involved. Hey, someone. Very interesting thoughts there, but I'm glad we're having this conversation because I'm sure it'll start other conversations as well at home. People will start revising their wills, hopefully, their beneficiaries and their next of kins. Lexis, we have observed how short the men grieve when women die. Maximum 3 months, they move on. We will look out for our kids. Hey. Samira. M from Butcher says, Lexis, how many men do you hear left property for the wife, and if it was taken over by another man, even if she remarries? However, if a woman does same within months, when the man remarries, his new woman turns his mind away from the kids from the previous marriage. Adrian says, hey, Asemo, this beautiful thing called marriage. Our remun some doso. It shall be well. Yeah. I mean, there's so many angles to this that we can explore, because I realized that we've hit a very, very sensitive nerve. You know, but we need to have these conversations as well to hear each other out, you know? So you stay tuned in. Yeah. Stay tuned in. Tomorrow, I think we would have another angle to explore. I'll tell you about it tomorrow. Make sure you're here.